Welcome to Drupal Nights, sponsored by BioRAFT. Tonight we have Scott Lozier talking about Drupal 8 and Foundation. Take it away.
Thank you all for inviting me here, and thank you for BioRAFT for sponsoring this. And appreciate it. I'm open to questions at any point, so please do stop, and that's fine. I am the web development manager at Integrated Computer Solutions. It's a software development company in Bedford, Massachusetts, who specializes mostly in touchscreen displays. I oversee the web team. I have 7 web developers and 6 different web properties. My developers are all over the world. I have folks in Russia and Serbia and Mexico, and great. So we have to work together on a framework. So that's what I thought I would talk about, frameworks tonight. And I want to specifically talk about Foundation and Drupal 8, and because I think it's a great time to start looking forward. And if we're going to start something brand new in Drupal 8, Foundation is a great tool to make it your theming framework. So what we'll cover, introductions, so we've already gone on and done some of that. Frameworks, I'll talk a little bit about Bootstrap and Foundation. Drupal 8 theming, we're going to go through pretty quickly. I mean, I think we could spend hours talking about just the setting up a theme in Drupal 8, but I'll show you what the basic thing you need to do to get it up and running. And then Foundation will focus on that, and I'll show you a bunch of examples. Hopefully it's some cool stuff. I think it's fun to get in there and play and show you some examples stuff. Great. I just want to pull up this Foundation, this grid, Mondrian, so that I was sort of inspired to think about the way you break things down from complexity to structure. So I threw that up there. So which frameworks? So let's talk about what frameworks there are currently out there. So right now in Drupal 8, here's my, I'm not sure I got them all, but hopefully this is a good listing of them. Classy is the sort of base theme for Drupal 8. Some of you have seen Morton do his presentation about Classy. It's a wonderful theme. Bootstrap is apparently not ready yet, and that's what they're saying in the Bootstrap Drupal page. 8.3, but it's still sort of broken. Omega's got a development release in 5 for 8. Zen, there's nothing. I don't know that there's any plan for Zen for Drupal 8, or I haven't heard anything. Foundation actually works. You can download it and turn it on, and it actually works. Version 5 of Foundation. And HTML5 boilerplate, which is also another active one. There's no active Drupal 8 module. So across the web right now, looking at statistics, Foundation is 5% of the web, Bootstrap is 50% of the web, and HTML5 boilerplate is 38% of the web, just as overall, in pure number of different frameworks that are popular. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about Bootstrap and Foundation. They're really, really similar. There's some slight differences. They both are a mobile-first 12-column grid consisting of rows and columns, and I'll show you what these things are. Oh, stop the show. Sorry about that. Bootstrap is a pixel-based media query system, and Foundation is an M-based. It's a very subtle distinction, but it's important if you start working in pixels and M's. And Bootstrap for the compiled CSS is in less, and Foundation is in Sass. And we'll talk a little bit about that too. And this is sort of a snapshot of what it looks like for some of the code for your containers, your row, and your small columns. Bootstrap, and here's the Foundation row, medium 4 columns, and then content. All right, so so the requirements are for Foundation are met by Drupal 8. So it has the version of PHP and jQuery, and you don't have to use Sass with Foundation. You can. It adds a whole lot more power for it, but it's really easy just to use it in the CSS version. So there's lots of other things, whether you get into Ruby to start using some compiled Sass, and if you're really interested in that. So is Drupal 8 ready for us to start working in? I don't know whether you noticed or not, but Dries had blog post this week saying that it is ready to start working on. There are 3 use cases where you can start using it. So he said you could start now building Drupal 8 sites if what's in Drupal 8 core will profoundly help the development of the site, or your projects will take months of development time. That gives us some expectation that in a couple of months that there's going to be a release candidate for Drupal 8, and some of the benefits of Drupal 8. So I thought I would actually create. So I'm going to sit down and do a little bit of coding. We're going to actually create the theme in Drupal. So configure the theme. We're going to review Twig, which is the new templating system, and then review some Sass. And then we're going to go through this really quick, so hopefully it makes sense to people. So here is my theme folder. I've called it Drupal Nights. So the most important things to start off with is the info YAML file. So this is very similar to the .info file for Drupal 7. So we're defining the theme name, the description. We're saying it's 8 for Twig, and in this case we're using the Zurb Foundation. So this as a base theme. So this is going to be a sub theme of Zurb Foundation. You can just use Zurb Foundation right out of the box. You don't have to create a base theme, but we do that so we can change a bunch of things. So the screenshot, the style sheet's removed. So in here, it's really easy from your info file. They're in the past, if you wanted to remove some of Drupal core style sheets, there's a little bit more work. Here it's very simple to just remove the style sheets. And then the libraries, this is a brand new technology or sort of thought process. So in here we define actually the libraries that are going to be used, which is another file called libraries. All right, so just remember that we do the dnight global styles and global scripts, and I'm going to jump over to the libraries file to show you. All right. So here's our global styles version for the CSS and the theme. This is the style sheet that we're using. There's another print style sheet, and then the global script, JavaScript, and this is the JavaScript. So if I looked in my code, I would see the output for these files in the rendered HTML. Question or none? How's everybody doing? There's a lot coming at you. This is probably the most complex part of tonight. I think is the Drupal 8 stuff. So your .theme is what used to be called template.php, which is where you would override all of your stuff. So you do the function of this pre-processed HTML or pre-processed page. If you ever worked on the theme layer. So this is, if I wanted to bring in Bootstrap to this theme, which would be kind of weird, but I thought I would put it in there. It's the CSS alter. You actually bring it in this arrays. You can see all this online. All right. So what I wanted to do real quickly is actually go over what Twig looks like. So have some of you seen Twig files before? Have you started working with them a little bit? Yeah, all right. This is completely different than if you worked on Drupal 7, right? It's a whole new world. The documentation for Twig, though, is excellent. And it's actually pretty easy to use, but it's like learning a different language. Essentially, these are your output tags. So you can see here, you've got a bunch of HTML in here, and you're not going to do any processing of PHP like you would in the file previously did. So let me break this down. So here's an if site name or link. If these exist, this is a foundation class right here. skip over some of this. Foundation class, if is front. So you've seen some of these things if you've done some themes before. Site name, all that. You can go down, scroll down through some of this. So your messages, so this is going to be your output for messages. These are your breadcrumbs, title. Right? That is really what a
Back in the olden days, when you wanted to create a theme, you would go to one of Drupal's stock themes, like Garland, and say,
Yep.
okay, well, here's a really good
Yep.
starting point for page.tpl.
Yep.
Is that what you would do here? You go to Classic and grab that as your
Yeah,
starting
you
point?
can, but Foundation actually has all them. So the theme which we can look into is the Foundation has the page dot YAML, page.html dot twig, page dot and node dot html dot twig and block and all those sort of things. So it has that in there.
Okay.
Just copy that, but that's exactly the way to do it again. And what I did here is I just took page.html and copied it in the same sort of naming convention for your front page, dash dash front, same sort of thing. So it's very similar as far as the structure.
So what does Twig bring to it? I know there's advantages to it, that people like it.
I think it's a whole lot cleaner, right? It's a whole lot shorter. Those PHP tags would just be so much in it. There's a lot of functions in Twig, which are really nice.
There's no template files? I mean, this is the template file?
This is the template file.
Oh.
This is it. Yep. Yeah. So so Twig has a lot of functions in it. So what you're doing is that the thought process here is you've removed the code, and then the potential for malicious happenings. Everything is sanitized in Twig, rather than putting your PHP directly in there.
You cannot accidentally use PHP to print an unsanitized user input variable like you could in Drupal 7 and before. That's one of the largest benefits.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, so we'll quickly go into, so there's two themes here, Drupal Nights and then the Zurb Foundation, which is the main theme. And if I can go on over here, Michelle, here are all your templates, right? They've given you the sort of base ones. And Core has them all sort of, if they weren't here, you would have to grab them from Core, and then, because these all have the foundation, the classes within them. You find one. There's not one right here, but they're which we'll see a little bit later on. The number of columns and rows. This is all part of Foundation. We saw a little snippet of that row, and then inside the row there are columns, and we'll see more of that too. All right. So, and I just wanted to show you real quickly Sass, and how I have used Sass before.
The concept of Sass and less, just what goes.
Well, it's compiled CSS, and I've got a slide on that. I'm going to go over to this right here. All right. So this is the new school Sass, and you'll see it written as SCSS rather than SASS. And the distinction here is very subtle. It's just that the semicolons have been dropped and added here so that it really feels like CSS. And the power behind Sass is that I have variables, right? So I can say my blue is this color, and then later on, when I do my CSS, I can say blue all the way down. So if I change my blue, all I have to do is change my blue here, and it goes throughout the entire sheet. And you can have mix-ins, which are sort of like functions and they have functions, but that will allow you to do multiple things. They take variables and process. And then margin is another one, right? So that it's the blue, and then margin. And you can do, right? You can do some math in it too, right? So it does math for you. And a lot of like functions, right? So darken, 9%, right? So a lot of the stuff that you had to spend a lot of time doing in CSS are much more simple in Sass. And I also like it because it allows me to break out the files that the CSS lives in, and I just want to show you a little bit of that. So here's my Sass folder, and in my base I have Drupal. So these allows me to keep pockets of type of CSS. Sometimes when you get a CSS file, it becomes so long, you're like, what is weird, what is where? So what we've done here is we've organized our content. So this allows us to rewrite all those Drupal, we're resetting essentially all those Drupalisms with this file, elements, mix-ins, variables. This is where you saw that variable, that $blue. I'm setting up all of my variables for all of my colors across the entire site. So when a designer hands me a style guide and says, here's blue, here's orange, here's dark orange, first thing I do is I go in there and I create my variables. And then when I go back and create my layouts or styles, I know it's $blue. I don't have to remember what the hex code is. So then layout. So what we do is we take this HTML5 model, and we take the HTML5 elements and we theme within each one of those: the side, footer, front, the header, the main.
After you compile these, is it going to be a separate CSS file for each?
You can decide what you want to do. It can be compiled into one. It can be compiled into many. So typically, when I work on it with a team of developers, it's nice because I can say, you know what, I'm working on the header, and you're working on the footer, right? So we each don't, end up messing with each other's, and it ends up all recompiled and tested later on. But yeah, you set that up in the configuration file, or you have, these are called partials within Sass, so that they are compiled into a bigger, we can define what those are, a bigger sort of style sheet or Sass with the import command. Great. How's everybody doing? Enough Sass? You want to start looking at its foundation stuff?
Yeah.
All right. So Zurb Foundation, I have to play it first. So Zurb Foundation calls themselves the most advanced responsive front-end framework in the world, right? Bootstrap is another saying on this. So what is Foundation? Foundation is a responsive front-end framework made by Zurb, a huge company, product design company. They are a product design company in Campbell, California. Foundation is mobile first, code for small screens first, and larger devices will inherit those styles. It's a very important distinction, right? So that when you're writing something, all you need to give it is a designation for small, and it will go up. It will scale up from there, and we'll see some of these examples. And then it works with jQuery great, and it can work with CSS or Sass. All right. So some of the features of it, I'm going to go through some of these really quick. Media queries, I'll show you a couple of those in the next slide. Visibility, so you can hide things within certain side just with one class. They're very easy to do. Hide for large, hide for small, based upon your media query. There's a grid system. I started out as a back-end developer, and I never wanted to go to the front end until I found out about grid systems. Then I'm like, okay, now I can be a themer, right? Not that I'm not a themer, but interchange, which we'll show you a little snippet of that tonight. So what that is that allows you to only load the image based upon the size. So what that does is it's a JavaScript call to say, in large screens, load the large image, in small screens, load the small image to smaller load size. Navigation off campus, they have all the navigations, the top bar, sidebar.
Question about interchange.
Yep.
Does that inherently work with image caching or styles that Drupal provides? Does it know which one to get if you've already created those presets?
It will. It's a matter of naming convention. So it could. I think that the module for foundation module for Drupal 8 does not work yet. It does for 7. So
That's very cool.
it is cool. And this is also built into Drupal 8. I have not experienced it yet, but apparently it's there, and so we'll see how it all flushes out. But it's the latest thing. So there's some media, there's sliders, flex videos, or resizing the video, very nice thing. Icons, so there's a set of icons, really easy to implement. Typography, callouts, content, and accessibility. There's some great accessibility stuff in here. So when I designed the system for Harvard Graduate School of Education, one of the most important things was that it have some accessibility built into it. That was really important. All right, so there are 5 media queries. Small screens, medium screens, large, extra large, and XX large give you some kind of context. Notice the M designation. They're also giving you the pixels next to it, but everything's done by M's. So medium, min width, max width. A little time to absorb that. Those are out of the box. You can do many more that you want, but that's pretty much covers everything. And this is how we at ICS also theme now. We look at the small screen, anything below 640, and medium, large. And these are all, extra large and XX large are all just extra stuff. So we don't do much with that. So, all right, so let's look at some examples. See if I can do this. All right. I'm going to go to the grid system. All right. And this may be a little wonky because of the resolution. Oh, there it is. Okay. Great. All right, so this is simple foundation grids. All right, so they have this mobile first. Everything set as small will be in effect unless otherwise we override. So the large here indicates that it meets that benchmark for the media query of being a large site. So you can see that we've set up 4, 4, 4, so it's a 12-based system. There are 12 grids. 3, 6, 3, 3, 9, 6, 6. But if I minimize the screen, which in this case I'm just going to bring it back up to 100, you can see that it's changed. Right? We're now on a small screen, so it's gone to full width.
You lost me there.
Okay. Yeah. So what we've done, does it help if I resize the screen really? Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna do that. All right, so this is if it were greater than 1,000 pixels, right? It's 1,000 pixels wide right now, right? So if I have a content here, it's going to be 363, right? Or 39 or 66, right? But what happens when I go to my small screen? I don't have enough width to show all of these anymore. right? So what I'm going to do is I've decided which ones I'm going to show when the screen size shrinks down. Okay, it might show you better when I show you in code.
No, I got it now.
With code in a little bit.
And so those numbers are all out of 12.
Yep.
So it's 4 of 12.
Yep.
3 of
Yep. So then if we shrink down to small, we went to the full width, 3, 9, so we can decide what they are.
So you decide what point they should change? It's not by the number defaults or anything like that?
Nope, we decided. And if I can get there, I'll show you how we did that. All right, so we're in grid.html. All right. So here we are in this first grid. All right, so here's the row. So that's that entire column, which one is the laser here? The red one?
Yes.
So it's that. It's this one right here. 2, 4, 6. Right? 2, 4, 6. Right, so in small, this is going to be 2 wide. In large, this is going to be 4 wide. In small, this is going to be 4 wide, large 4 wide, small 6, large 4. So we also have some extra content here that we are hiding for large and showing for large. Right?
Scott, is this panels based? I mean,
Nope. This is so how you would use this, right? So if you had a grid like you had a grid like this where you had all these different components for it. So this would be a large grid, right? So this is going to work on your desktop, right? But all of these pieces need to move somewhere else when you go down to mobile. So that's why we're using the grid, right? So this is probably, what, 6 by 6, right? So this is 6 wide, this is 6 wide, this is 3 wide, this is 3 wide, this is 6 wide. In large. Does that make sense?
So what determines what is small, what is large? Do you do that somewhere, say like large is greater than 1200 pixels or something like that?
That's the media queries that let me see if I can go back to.
Is that part of Foundation out of the box?
It is. So the media query, so this is small, right?
Gotcha.
Medium, so 640 pixels below. Yeah, it's kind of wonky with the projector resolution size, but that's how that works. All right, so there are sliders that come out of the box that work pretty simply. Several different options. You have these sort of the plain old sliders, so I've just put some numbers here and boxed them in with the dots. And this sort of center feature, where you can start teasing out other items. This is a Slick, the Slick JavaScript library. It's actually in Drupal 7, very active community in there, and I think it will eventually be, or soon be in 8, but works very well with Foundation. All right, so here is interchange. So this is the system whereby if I'm on a large screen, it's going to load just the large image, right? So if my image is 800, kilobyte or something, the large one, My small is only 40 kilobyte or something like that. This system, and I'll show you the code behind it, but let's actually go through it and do it. And the best way that I can show you to do this is by going to the network tab. All right, so see, it just downloaded the space large. So it downloaded the large image because we're on the large size. So if I was in a much smaller, or in the medium space, right? And I'm going to refresh, and it's only going to download the medium image.
So is the extra large for like the super awesome Retina 4K, whatever sort of 27-inch screens? Is that when you're likely to run into that sort of?
Yeah, and there's some Retina support too for this. There's some Retina support in Foundation for some of those images, but I think it's you're right. It's like, or it's a designer that has those huge screens or whatever. And most time, the only time you ever see that people use those is to put something to add over in there, because it's just sort of, hey, it's free space. Let's put something there, right? All right. But I wanted to try something really brave and actually do a little bit of coding just to show you how simple it is. If I could find my mouse, right there. All right, so where's my index.html? All right. Sublime text with packages installed. So I'm going to actually add an alert box to index. I'm going to get rid of this. All right. You can see there's nothing up my sleeve. This is a blank screen, right? All right. Really simple. So, class alert box, that's all that's involved in that. You can put anything you want to in there. All right, let's do an accordion, right? Accordions with jQuery are not too hard, but there must be an easier way, right? Here's my accordion, just a class of accordion. Go to navigation, save it, refresh, and there it is functioning. And even better, you know what? That's too big. I need to make it smaller. I need to put it just on half the screen, not the whole screen. So what I need is a half grid, right? So there's my half grid, the row, small, 666, medium. And if I take my accordion and actually pop it right inside that div, and I'm going to add a panel there just so you can see what I'm doing. Right, so it's now half size.
How did you get those snippets into Sublime?
It's just a, and what do they call it, packages? Yeah, so you can just go to download and Sublime.
Package control.
Package control,
Oh,
right.
cool.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah. So there's that, and so buttons, also buttons, love that they're so easy. Clear this all out. I'll do a couple things for you. So just your standard button, but you can also add can add tiny, small. Right? No more radiuses. Right? Isn't that nice? And I love the modal too. I think it's the review. Really simple stuff to do. It's quite powerful. How are we doing? All right, let's. What else we want to do? We did interchange. Let me go back here. Clearing Lightbox and pizza I haven't done. Let's do those. Again, I've lost my mouse. So these are graphs. So as easy as D3 is, but this is really, really simple stuff to set up. My expectation at some point there'll be views integration with this to make it really easy to apply these.
What's
Right,
the
guys.
graphing engine for this?
It's Zurb. Yeah,
Is there
they've
a-
created them all. Yeah, yeah. So like D3 or high charts or something very similar sort of thing. Just a bunch of JavaScript. And we'll talk a little bit about Zurb. They have this sort of playground where they have these projects that come out that are well supported and well thought out. I think that they essentially create them because now they're after the app market, and then a lot of what they create are stuff that can be applied to apps or email, like you've sort of seen. And the clearing one I think is good. I did that. No, so there's my Drupal site coming in. Yes. Oh no, I did it under. It's under the. Sorry. Interchange. Oh yeah, it's under the interchange one. Okay, well, whatever. Let's move on. All right, so even more foundation, right? So these are some libraries that are very popular, getting popular right now too. Zurb Inc. And you've used it before. Do you want to just tell everyone real quick what you used it for?
Yeah, I had to create an email template to be used for emails containing quite variable content, including images of unpredictable sizes and so forth. And actually, just looking at the classes, it's very similar to Foundation. And except for the images, yes, it even plays nicely with Outlook. I don't know if any of you have done email template development, but basically there is no standardization among email clients the way there is among web browsers, and so it is a total nightmare to come up with one file that will render correctly.
So they have a bunch of templates and the
Yeah.
CSS and the JavaScript for
Well, no
no
JavaScript
JavaScript,
in
the
emails,
CSS
yeah. Yeah.
for beautiful.
Yeah, they have what they call a boilerplate, which is just a bare skeleton, and then they also have about 5 sample templates to give you a kind of jumping off point.
Okay, good. They have apps, so this is their big thing now, where they UX teams. would use something like this to prototype. You know, so essentially it's using the Foundation framework to prototype apps. And then Foundation 6 is coming out pretty soon, so we'll see what that holds. And their playground, if I can go there real quick and show you some of the cool stuff that they do. Oh yeah, so they have this Morse code, which is really cool, where you essentially you can write all of your grids in the smallest amount of text possible. So I don't know if any of you have used Emmet before. It's very similar sort of engine where you're saying like small grid 6, new row, small grid 12, large grid 6. And what do you hit tab, and it just expands out to all your grid system. Yeah, check out Emmet. This isn't as mature as Emmet, but Emmet in Sublime Text is just amazing. Responsive ads, image blur, pie charts, prototyping mobile first. Icons. I didn't do icons. Let me do some icons. That's fun stuff. Let's go back and this has all of it going on. All right, right there. So this is the link page. I guess it is not loading. But essentially, this is how you.
It's up at the top.
Oh, no. Oh, there it is right there. Oh, thank you. So, if we go to the icon page, so here are all the icons. So if I want to use graph bar, right now I'm using dice. There it is right there. And you can color it. It's an SVG. It has support for all the other sort of image formats, but it's an SGV, so you can do anything. You can change the style that you want to on it. So,
Scott, can you show us some things about how you work with color?
so what do you mean?
Did you use like, any mixings like darker and a base
Yeah.
color? And
You know, I'm just probably not the best as far as that's concerned. I've used a little bit of the Sass of darken and lighten and those functions, but you know, I don't know them well enough to speak to them.
how do you? I mean, it seems so similar to Bootstrap that
It is.
if
Yep.
Bootstrap has 50% of the market, and this one has 5%. I mean, in terms of picking a winner.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think there are some things like there are some Foundation has more than Bootstrap has. So you know, I
I like
didn't
it.
set up the comparison, but like the whole clearing, and I don't think the Bootstrap has the interchange yet. I'm sure it's something that they're working on, or some functionality like that. And then, I think the development of Foundation is much more rapid than the development of Bootstrap right now. And part of the problem of being so widely accepted, right, is that
Yeah.
you can't move as quickly as the other guy.
Yeah. This seems more evolved somehow.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I have done one site in Bootstrap, years ago. It seemed really easy to do. This is really easy to do, but I think I've really settled on this for the team that I work with. So
Is one better than the other for making smaller file size?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
I think Foundation is.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll check it out. That's a good question. Where did I leave this? Oh, questions. It's great getting into that. Please, anything else? How are people feeling overwhelmed? Does it all make sense?
So there's a Drupal-based theme already that's built on Foundation. Is
Yep.
there a GUI interface where you can then configure, like, this is the grid that I want on my front page, this is what I want on the rest of my pages, but my blog page needs something totally unique?
There isn't. It's all, unlike Omega, it is all code-based, right? So the hope is that it's simple enough to just add classes, right? It's just a row and classes, if we go back to that. I mean, this is really all that you need to create 4 columns, right? So when you're in Twig now, right? So that's the expectation. I think for me, I started out from code, so I really wanted to work in code. And I think Omega has the value of that. Some things are easy to set up with the GUI. There are some things in the theme itself, some theme settings that allow you to do some things, but they do not allow you to set grids. That being said, there are views displays, is that what they call it? I forget what they're called, that allow you to easily add a class so that if you create a grid, so in views it's pretty easy to use the Foundation framework in grid for more complex layouts.
It seems fun to work with. I mean, it looks like it's actually nice to work with, as opposed to you're fighting something.
Yeah, it is fun. I'm enjoying it. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye. Yeah, it's fun. It's been fun sort of going through and exploring all these different things and rapidly doing, setting up accordions and all those things that, I started out writing HTML and CSS in the 90s, right? Getting a modal was like an act of God, right? It was like, we'll put that in as a request and you'll get it in 2 weeks, and now you can do it with one class, right? But I think it's also the need that Drupal has filled, right, to build CMS systems. The Bootstrap and Foundation and Omega are all filling that need for the theme level sophistication. So it's, in many ways, it's like that Mondrian slide, like you're taking something and you're putting in a tool to make it easier for you to manage the complexity and give more power to the users.
Years from now, people are going to come up to you. You're the reason I started using Foundation.
I don't know about that.
It will happen.
This is why I pay Ed to come to these things.
Is the slide available? The slide.
Oh yeah, I'll send it to Michelle to put up.
All the slides will be posted, so.
All right.
Great. Well, thank you all for listening, and it's
Thank
a
you.
pleasure.
My God, Scott, you explain things so